Christine. Thanks, Evans. So my name is Christine Mudavanu. I am one of the consultants here at Royal Management. I focus on compliance. My background is public policy, regulation, compliance. I have a background in writing legislation. I was working at the Department of Communities in Queensland when the NDIS was being conceived at a policy. So fundamentally, I understand what government is trying to achieve with the NDIS. And so I'm using my knowledge and my years of experience in this space to help businesses see how they can innovate and provide much needed solutions and innovation to the sector to at least 25% of our population that identify as having some form of a disability. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and go through our presentation. Please feel free to ask questions along the way. What I may suggest you do is let me get through most of the explaining of the factual stuff, and we do reserve time at the end for a good question and answer section, if that's okay. Right. So, all right. So what are the key components? You're here to learn about becoming an NDIS provider and what those key components are in that space. So provider registration. As I mentioned before, if you've ever attended a presentation that I've talked at, the key to becoming a very successful provider is, first of all, know what it is in terms of service delivery that you want to bring to the marketplace, and know and understand your skills and expertise to be able to do that. If you understand those two things, the rest of it becomes a lot easier. Obviously, you know, there's document preparation, there's starting the application process on the NDIS Commission portal, but those are really just logistics. As a small business, you have really got to have clarity around what is my business? What is my business offering? And we always try to encourage our clients that there's this temptation to want to be all things to all people. But the businesses that we've seen really succeed in this space are those businesses that are targeted, that are focused, that really know and understand who their client cohort is, and take the time to do the market research for what type of service am I going to provide, how am I going to provide it, and to whom am I going to provide. Once you have clarity around that, the rest becomes easy. So from a logistics point of view, what's required in the process is the document preparation, lodging the application on the portal, then selecting, once you get your scope of audit statement, selecting an approved quality auditor, of which there are 17 across the country that are approved by the NDIS Commission, NDIA. Providers then undergo an audit. There's two types of audits, and I'll talk more in depth about this as we get into the presentation. There's your certification audit and your verification audit, and I'll explain a bit later what that means. The NDIS Commission was set up most recently. They're about 3 years old, and this is the real watchdog that's there to support providers and to manage any complaints that come from participants with regards to providers and the NDIS. So providers receive the application outcome. The NDIS Commission is who makes the decision and makes the determination of whether you're a registered provider or not. The auditor is there to do preliminary work on behalf of the Commission, but it is the Commission who makes the final decision. So who is a provider? Providers are individuals or organizations registered with the National Disability Insurance Agency to deliver a support or a product to a participant of the NDIS. Providers are there to build capacity to provide participants with choice and control over the delivery of supports. And choice and control is really, really critical. That's the reason for opening up this market. It's that government really wants people with a disability to have the same choices that you and I have in terms of who our providers are, when we access the services, how we access those services, and who our providers are. In the past, people with a disability have not had that level of independence and choice and control over the delivery of their support. how participant plans are managed. So a participant, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the terminology under the NDIS legislation, a participant is another word for a client. So a recipient of NDIS funding is known as a participant under the NDIS Act. There are three types of plans that participants have under the NDIS Act. At the highest level is the agency managed plan. So the NDIA, this is where the NDIA's the National Disability Agency pays the providers directly. So participants must choose registered providers who are subject to the pricing arrangements of the NDIS price guide. So the NDIS does regulate the market in terms of price. So there is an extensive price guide for services. And if you're a registered provider providing support to someone on an agency managed plan, you must adhere to that price guide. The next plan down is a plan managed plan. So a plan manager will pay a provider. So there are companies and organizations that are paid by the NDIA to be plan managers. And you can apply. Plan management is another form of registration that you can apply for. You can apply to be a registered plan manager and therefore help participants to purchase supports from either registered or unregistered service providers. As a registered provider, plan managers are responsible for ensuring that payments requests adhere to the arrangements in the NDIS price guide. If you're an unregistered service provider, you can charge whatever you like, but remember, it's a competitive market. So if you're going way above the NDIS price guide, you're likely to lose clients anyway. So there's market attrition that addresses that. So you'll find on the whole, most people do stick to that NDIS price guide. It's a public document. Everybody can go and look it up at any time. Self-managed plan, this is really targeted for people who have a high level of competency and high level of or children who have family support. Sorry, if you could just make sure you're always on mute, that will help us get through the presentation a lot easier. So self-managed plans, that's basically where the individual or a family member pays the provider on their own. So participants can use registered and unregistered service providers. They're not subject to the pricing arrangements of the NDIS price guide. You're basically in control. You're basically master of the universe in a self-managed plan. Things to consider. So when you're about to register as a provider, you need to consider your location. So I remember, Lydia, you were mentioning that when you were registered at state-based level with whatever the local requirements were for Western Australia at the time, before they became part of the Commonwealth umbrella, because as you may not appreciate, the NDIS was rolled out in stages. So it's not necessarily that it was rolled out to all of Australia. It was rolled out to different states at different times, but even within states, it was rolled out to different locations in states. I remember in Queensland, it started off in Townsville. That was our test site. And then it worked its way to all the different areas. It started off in a small concentrated cohort, and then it gradually branched out as states had the mechanisms in place to be able to communicate and articulate what the NDIS meant for participants, and also connect and have plan managers on board to be able to support participants, have support coordinators who are absolutely critical to be able to provide that coordination of support, and also have the supports in place to provide support to new and emerging providers that were coming into the market to really address this market disruption that government had created. So location matters. Registered, are you registered with the relevant professional association? So for example, if the supports that you're wanting to deliver require you to have registration with the Australian Association of Social Workers, with APRA for registered nurses and other medical professions, just as you would for any other role, have to produce your professional qualifications. The question you need to ask for yourself is, the services I'm registered for, am I registered with the appropriate and relevant professional association? Do you have the appropriate qualifications for what it is that you're wanting to to deliver. There's quite a few services under the NDIS that don't necessarily require you to have formal qualifications, like, for example, supports like your cleaning, your basic household chores, or even support work itself. But it is advisable when you're competing in a highly competitive market, such as the NDIS, that you at least consider having at a bare minimum your certificate 3 in individual support, disability support, because you are in a highly competitive market and you are in a market where people are qualified. Who needs to be registered? Providers. Not all providers need to be registered. If you remember from the previous presentation, I mentioned that if you're an unregistered provider, you can provide supports to people who have a plan manager and a self-managed plan. So you can absolutely start your business without being registered. But if you want to provide certain types of services, or you want to provide services to clients that are under an agency managed plan, then you must be registered. So services and supports to NDIS participants who have a plan managed by NDIA, as I've said before. So there's specialist activities under the NDIS that have been identified by the regulator as really requiring that support. So SDA, so for those of you who were on the call on Tuesday, we talked a lot about that. That supported disability accommodation, behavior supports, because of the high regulatory nature of behavior supports, that's highly regulated, and implementation of restrictive practices, again, highly regulated as part of supports and services to participants. Providers delivering supports to people under the Commonwealth Continuity of Support Program all need to be registered. What does registration actually involve? Well, what do providers need to consider? You need to understand how to register and what your obligations are. First of all, as I've said earlier, you need to consider your business model. Now, I've talked about you really getting clarity on what is the service that you are bringing to the market. The other thing to get clear on is, are you going to do this as yourself? Are you going to do this in partnership? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this in partnership with someone? Are you going to be a sole trader? Or are you going to go the whole hog and actually set up a fully fledged limited liability company? How are you actually going to deliver this? There's a lot of our clients who choose to do a consortia where people have different skills, like I'm a physiotherapist, another person is a nurse, another one is an occupational therapist, another one is a speech therapist, and they come together and form one business with one registration so they can provide multiple services. That's one business model. Or each of those speciality skills can say, no, we want to do it on our own and be really focused. That's another business model as well. You can also choose to subcontract your services to larger organizations. That's another business model as well. So terms of business, guide to suitability, the quality and safeguard standards. Someone's saying, sorry guys, I just got booted out. Did everyone have the same experience? No. Okay, I'm not talking to myself. People are still here.
It's all right. I'll just reply to her. I think she's back on. Shingi, yeah, that's
okay. Excellent.
Yeah, that's right.
I will continue. Okay, so our NDIS practice. The NDIS practice standards are what you get assessed against during the audit process. So these are requirements that set the standard of service you must deliver to be a registered NDIS provider. They provide a benchmark for providers to be assessed against for performance and demonstrate high quality and safe supports for participants. Each practice standard is built from a high level of participant outcome supported by quality indicators. The practice standards are really there to support businesses that are doing the right thing. So if you're doing the right thing, these are not things to be scared of, because these are things you would be doing anyway. These are, there are a lot of common sense in the practice standards. There's a lot of industry standards. A lot of you are already in the health space in some way, shape, or form. You know and understand that there's exceptionally high quality standards in that space. And given the vulnerability of the cohort, that's what the practice standards help the regulator to do and the auditors to do, to be able to assess that you are actually doing the right thing in terms of providing that quality care for the participants. Right. Apologies, the presentation has just frozen. Just give me a second. There we go, it's moving again. There are 3 components to the registration process. Decide this is something you want to do and prepare all the required documentation. There's a lot of documentation that is involved. And the reason there's a lot of documentation, all of you currently work and those of you who are already in this industry or in another service industry or in any organization for that matter, when you go, your organization has its own policies and procedures. You know what HR forms need to be filled in if there was an incident that happened. You know when you're onboarding a new client, what needs to happen. When you're about to provide a service, I'm sure there's service agreement forms. There's all sorts of things that are needed to be able to make that business run properly. That's all those policies and procedures are. It's really the documentation that you need to make that organization function. So for those of you that work with larger organizations, you will know that there's systems of processes and policies to follow. So it's just merely you developing those for your business. There's an independent assessment or an audit against the relevant NDIS practice standards, which I talked about before. And then the NDIS commissioner assesses the provider and its key suitability to participate in the NDIS market. We support our clients from stage 1 all the way up to stage 3 of this process. Our main focus is in the stage 1 space, where we really prepare your documentation and work with you to get that all uploaded via PRODA to the NDIS application portal. We then support you to get access to auditors. I mean, you can obviously go and get auditors on your own, but we have developed good relationships with auditors who understand our processes, and we have good customer relationships with them. And so we refer our clients to a pool of auditors, but we absolutely make sure that we get the best competitive deal for you as our clients. We also then can, if you so wish, support you with the NDIS commission process, because once the independent auditor writes the report, it goes to the commission, and sometimes there's further questions that come from there until the commission gives you that golden letter that you're waiting for, which has your provider number and a big massive congratulations. So our goal is to be that end-to-end provider that really holds your hand through that process so that you minimize your stress and you ensure that you're getting good quality support, and you're able to come back to someone who can easily articulate and interpret what the auditors are trying to say, and make any adjustments to the policy documents if that's needed, or provide any additional information to strengthen your application. So I talked earlier about a verification and a certification audit. So there are 2 types of audits. So a verification audit is really for individuals or partnerships that are delivering what are called low risk services that have limited complexity in terms of the support and services that you're providing. And as the tick there suggested, this is really just verifying your documentation says what it needs to say in order for the services that you are providing. The majority of our clients fall into category 2 of the audit, which is the certification. This is any provider that is a body corporate or provides high risk and more complex supports and services. So things like your behavior support, things like your high needs, where you are administering things like you're changing catheters, ventilation management, you're dealing with complex bowel movement, you're dealing with wound care, you are applying for SDA, you're applying for early childhood, you're applying for SIL, supported independent living. All of that, all of those types of services, you're implementing restrictive practicing, behavior supports, speech therapies, all of that. goes through a certification pathway. Now, depending on where you're at in that stage of the audit, if you've got existing clients, when you have your registration audit, then you go through a full-blown certification audit. But if you don't at that point have any clients on board, you go through what's called a provisional audit, because obviously if you don't have clients, they can't do the full certification audit, in that they can't interview clients or your staff because they don't exist. So basically all they can do is just check that your documentation is adequate for what it is that you are wanting to do. Once they do that, they give you what's called a provisional audit. And within 18 months, once your business is up and running, you've got some clients, you've got some support workers, you're moving on your way, they come back and they do the full, your first full certification audit. Oops, sorry, I just glossed over that. So provider registration. So there are conditions to your registration. So when you're a registered provider, there are things that you must adhere to. Obviously, compliance of the law is up at the top. The NDIS practice standards, which we've talked about, NDIS code of conduct. So all of you know what a code of conduct is. Complaints management and resolution requirements. Complaints are reported, can be reported directly to the NDIS Commission, or they can be managed within your organization, and your complaints management process is something that the auditors look at really, really closely. Incident management and reportable incidents. There's a lot of incidences that if they happen, they should be reported straight away. For example, misappropriation of medication, misappropriation of restrictive practices. Those are examples of reportable incident requirements. They must be reported to the Commission straight away, and there's a process for doing that. Behavior support requirements, again, this is a reportable requirement, and when you register, when you go through the registration process, you'll be doing all of these incidents reporting through your PRODA. Workers and NDIS worker screening. The NDIS Commission, I've referred to the Commission several times. This is, think of the Commission as your friend. The Commission is really there just to support the providers. I know people get a bit anxious if the Commission is calling or the Commission is asking questions. The Commission wants as many providers in the market as possible, but it wants to make sure that providers are doing the right thing. So part of the journey is really understanding that when the Commission is coming, they're coming at a place of support and they're wanting more information just to support you. As long as you're doing the right thing, you'd never have anything to worry about when you're hearing from the Commissioner. So the NDIS Commission oversees the registration and regulation of providers, compliance with the code of practice, the practice standards and the code of conduct, compliance against NDIS services and support, reportable incidences, including abuse, neglect of a participant, the use of restrictive practice, nationally consistent NDIS worker screening. So I've mentioned a bit about the NDIS workers code of conduct. A lot of the stuff is really common sense, respect for individual rights, respect for self-determination, respect for privacy, act with integrity, honesty, and transparency, deliver services competently, ensure quality and safety, prevent and respond to violence, neglect, abuse, and exploitation. And again, the code of conduct is available on the NDIS Commission website. So what do we do at Royal Management Consultants? We're basically here to support you through this whole process. We understand that compliance can be a really daunting space. We love compliance. We want you to get on with the business of providing brilliant supports to the sector and to the vulnerable people that need it. And we don't want you to be stressed about the regulatory requirements that go in. We want to really see ourselves developing a partnership with you about how we can work alongside you to ensure that your business is a success, because if your business is a success, then we are a success. So basically, we're able to help you with your registration process. Our phone number and our details are there. And I think Evans has put the details on there. We run these presentations once a fortnight, where we provide this information around the registration process. But if you want to talk to us very specifically about your individual circumstance, please contact us and make a free, no obligations 30-minute consult with us, where we get to understand a little bit about your circumstance, give you an idea of what we can provide for you within that half an hour. And usually what happens is most people ask for a quotation after that, but it's free and no obligation, and we'd love to talk to you and hear from you. So I will stop there, and I will stop sharing, and I will open up for questions. Now, people did ask about the presentation. Yeah.
Okay, no, you can go ahead. I was just going to touch base on.
Okay, I was just going to, there was one person who kept asking, is the recording, do we share it? No, we don't share our presentation out with people for obvious reasons. We can give access to you, and we can organize to talk to you separately out of this session, but we really want to maintain quality of control around how this information is disseminated. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry, Evans, you wanted to add some things.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to just touch and add on to what Christine has just said. Thank you very much, Christine, for the presentation. Just to add on top of that, so what we do is we offer a one-stop shop for everything in regards to the registration. Can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen, Christine?
No.
Okay, you might have to just stop sharing yours. Just have a look.
I think I have.
Just have a look here.
And do you want to turn your video on? There we go. Now we can see.
Yeah, sure. You can see it now, my screen? Yep. Awesome. Yeah, so on our website, we've got our services area where it lists all the services that we provide. So as we are a one-stop shop, we will provide you a business plan, a business startup kit, inclusive of your NDIS registration. We've got other services where...
Can you minimize the chat? Because unless if it's just my screen, can people see the chat? Because we can't see what's behind the chat.
I think it could be your screen.
Oh, it's my screen? Cool.
Yeah, because I'm just sharing my screen.
Sorry, yep.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, so we are a one-stop shop, as I mentioned. If you haven't registered your business, we'll register your business for you, your company for you. We also offer digital marketing services. So we try and create a long-term relationship with all our clients, just to make sure that even after you're registered, we continue to work together and create that business relationship, assisting with lead generation strategies, marketing strategies, as well as retention and retention of customers. So yes, and we've also got our packages, which are also listed on our website. We've got our 2 different packages. I'll just go over here. Where are we? NDIS. So it won't be too long.
I think the other drop down isn't coming up because it's just got provider requirements in the checklist.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so if you just scroll down on here, we've got our packages. We've got a silver package, which pretty much includes, if you just want us to provide you with the policies and procedures, and you want to do it by yourself and you don't need our assistance, we can provide that for you at $3,000. And then we've also got a $5,000 package, which has got all the policies and procedures, the business plan, company registration. Now this one excludes as well, these prices also exclude the audit fee. Audit fees are separate. They can range from different amounts, just depending on what you're applying for. Then we've also got the $10,000 package, which is a full-blown package where We pretty much hold your hand the whole way. We liaise with the auditors as well. As you know, with the auditors, it is quite a detailed back and forth process. If you receive any emails or any requirements from the commission through the auditors, we will be answering or assisting you with answering all of those questions. It's got quite a lot of inclusions like support with your social medias, your business cards. Yeah, we're pretty much holding your step along the way. But with all these packages, we just continue to work with you either way, just in different aspects depending on which package you've gone for. But that's not what our main focus. Our main focus is to make sure that we create good relationships with all our clients, and to make sure that everyone is working in a very happy business environment. Thank you very much.
Questions? I'm just going to check in the chat if there were any questions in the chat. Yeah. So Louis, are you still on? Oh, Louis is gone. That's Shingi. Do any of your packages offer continuous monitoring as long as the business is in operation, or for every contact with you, it will be a new business transaction? I'm not quite sure I understand. So Carlos, Shingi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, can you just explain sort of the scenario that you're thinking of so we can properly answer you?
All right, so I'm thinking that I am for clients or for providers who are time poor like me. And sorry, just hold on.
It's okay. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Christina, I think what she could be asking is once she's signed up with us, does it mean that yeah, even after she's registered, if she contacts us regularly, is it a separate transaction that she's billed for?
Yes, but what I wanted to understand is what the contacts in relation to. So I guess to answer that question from my perspective, and Evans, please, you jump in from how you've understood.
Sure.
We provided some information about the packages that we offer in terms of support for your NDIS registration. So that's one transaction, right? Which is your NDIS registration. So in your NDIS registration, there's 3 levels of support that we provide that amount to one transaction. So the first level of support that we provide is we can give you all of the templates, and you do that yourself. So you pay us for the templates. Basically, that's the intellectual property. We've developed that for you. So you go away and you retrofit those templates to suit yourself. That's one option. If you then come back to us for something else, say you now then change your mind and you say you want us to support you through the audit process, or you want us to liaise with the NDIS commission, that obviously is a separate business transaction. So we would have to then add those costs, because that's our time as well. So we'd have to add those costs to the package. Now, within the $5,000 and the $10,000 package, you'll see there's other inclusions around your business support as well. So in the context of your registration, you also get a website built if you don't have one. So depending on which package you pick, that can be included. You also then get setting up of your social media accounts for and managing them for a limited period of time within those packages. So you get that. But if you then want us to continue to manage your social media after that on a daily basis, almost definitely we do that. But that's now a separate transaction that's not part of the registration package. Does that answer your question, Shingi?
Yes, it does answer my question, because I think what I was trying to refer to is, let's say for all businesses that obviously have websites, you might engage a company that runs your website for you, that does your money transactions, but on the website. So I think that's just the part I wanted to find out. If you continuously, do you have that service that you continue to assist with the providers?
Absolutely,
Okay.
we do. It's just, it wasn't, those continuous services are what Evans was talking about in terms of the one-stop shop services. So then you cease to then just become an NDIS client and you go into our regular supported clients, and that's a different contract with us as well.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, I've got a question.
Yes, Carlos.
So just a couple of things. So how long is the duration from when you start when I say I decide to go with you guys and you do the whole plan for me, from the business plan to the actual registration for me getting a registration, what's the time scale I'm looking at?
The time scale, there's two things about the time scale. There's the time scale we can control, and there's the time scale we absolutely cannot control. So the time scale we can control is the time scale that we will take to write your policies and procedures. And that's the least of your concerns in this process. That's why I caveated with those two. So we take between 6 to 8 weeks to put together all of your documentation, because we'll be working with you around that. So that's the first part. If you pick package 2 and 3, if you pick the first package where we give you templates, that's on you in how long you take, because you're writing your own policies and procedures. So this is where we're writing them for you. And then the second time frame that we have no control over, actually there's 3. The second one is the audit, how long the audit will take. And that depends on which auditor we pick, the backlog that they have in terms of cases. So right now with our current clients, we're seeing about a 2 to 3 month wait in terms of getting an audit date. So a lot of the clients that we submitted them for audit in January, their audits are coming up in March. So then after that, we have a fixed period for the auditor to write their report, which is about, I think, 6 weeks off the top of my head. I'll have to check that again. And then that report goes to the commission. And then you get into the time frame that nobody has any control over, which is the regulator's time frame, and which is the time frame that determines your registration. So for now, look, the NDIS commission, it can take anywhere between 3 months, 6 months, sometimes up to a year. It depends on the volume of applications that the commission is getting. It depends on the complexity of your application. So what I say to our clients is, look, budget between 6 to 8 months for this process. And a lot of that is out of our control, because we've got a regulator in there who's really smashed with new applications. And there's really nothing you can do to hurry the regulator.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Okay, that's interesting. And just one last question of the 2 that I had. So in the event that, say, I already have a company that is established,
yeah,
I already have a website that is established. I've already got, you know, the website, the ABN number, everything is all sorted. Does that make a significant change to those figures that you've just given us in you doing the NDIS stuff for me?
It does make a bit of a difference, because we do factor in your business registration, but the chunk of that cost is with, like, particularly if we talk about the larger package, there's hours that we spend talking to the auditors on your behalf. There's hours that we spend talking to the commission and getting all of that paperwork. So we factored in that time into that as well. So yes, it will. The short answer is yes, it does. And we would then give you a separate quote, and Evans would be the person to go to for that, around just taking out your company registration, because that's included in the bundle, and the website cost.
All right. No, thank you very much. Most helpful.
So Lydia said, if I get policies through you, is there any need for engaging EmploySure? EmploySure does completely different things to us. EmploySure is about managing the Employment Act. So that's about managing, ensuring whether you are compliant with Australia's employment laws, ensuring that you're paying people on time. So that's completely different. What EmploySure does is completely different to what we do. Does that answer your question, Lydia? Lou says here, I missed the first part of your presentation. What qualifications do I require to become an NDIS registered provider? The question, Lou, is what is it that you actually want to do in this space? That's more the question, because what you want to do is what's going to determine your qualifications that you need.
Hi, it's Shingi here again.
Yeah.
Yes, so hi, besides the NDIS registration as a business proposal, do you do any other businesses?
Yeah.
Do you do any other business registrations?
Yes, we do. And we can happily take that offline and talk to you about all the other registrations we do for businesses as well. But this presentation was very specific about NDIS service provision, but we do. We are a business consultant for small businesses. So your aged care services, TIC, just even registering a small business. We help with that as well.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, just on that one, Shingi, as well. I'll share with you a link on our website that's got information in regards to our business startup.
Okay, thank you.
When is the next presentation? Our presentations are this time, same channel, every second Thursday. So not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after that. So
Thursday, the 10th of March. And you can find the links. They're updated on our Facebook every week. So we'll put up the new link probably by the end of this week, probably by tomorrow. I'll just share our Facebook page with you guys on our chat as well.
Betsy asked a question, how will it be if we need to switch from one consultant to the other? That's really up to you. If that's what you're wanting to do. That happens quite a bit where people move from one provider to another. We just work with you from the point that you join with us and what your requirements are at that point. So you can absolutely do that. I've answered the how long will the registration, what's the duration? We've talked about that. Do any of the packages, we've talked about that. There's more question. Yes, I'm answered, thank you, Facebook. Yep. Any other questions? We've still got about 10 minutes before we log off. Any other questions?
Hi, Christine, it's Lydia here. Just want to ask you, thank you for such a wonderful presentation, very much helpful. I just wanted to ask you, what's your advice from your experience about registering more than one group?
When you say registering more than one group, in terms of what?
Like now, I'm a registered nurse.
Yes.
And I want to do some other groups like domestic and what's your
as in some other supports. Okay, I'm with you.
Yes.
I understand your question. Look, Lydia, what I said in the beginning, if you remember, you were at the presentation right at the beginning.
Yes, that's where I'm drawing my question from.
Yeah. So from my experience, I always say to people, focus on the area that you've got the highest level of experience first.
Okay.
It's a highly competitive space. So I always try to encourage my clients. It's absolutely up to you, but we're here to make sure we set you up for success. So what I encourage my clients is less is more. Let's start with the things we know you absolutely cannot fail at. Get used, because there's a lot of things you're learning, right? You're not just learning, you're learning how to run a business. You're learning how to be a business owner. And that's very different from being an employer. That's a whole skill that you need to learn. You're going to start employing staff in terms of support workers. The last thing you want to be doing is running around it like a chicken without a head, trying to get your head around a new area you don't understand. You want to do that when you've solidified your business, right? And you know you've got really good support workers that are doing that, and you're saying, okay, right, let's branch out into something else, right? I want to introduce a service. And you now have the bandwidth and the space to be able to do that. You've addressed your bread and butter issues. You've ticked them off in the sense that you know where your income is coming from. Your business is stable. You're submitting your BAS on time. You're submitting your tax return on time. You're paying people on time. Your participants are happy. You're managing your complaints. You've been through an audit process maybe once or twice. You really understand how this space works.
Okay.
That's my personal recommendation. But of course, you are obliged to obviously do what feels right for you. But that's always the space I advise clients from. We see people register. I've got clients who've registered and spent so much money and so much time and went and tried to register for everything and have ended up doing nothing because they were so overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, yes.
Yeah. So underwhelm yourself, set yourself up with the lowest bar where you know you can't fail, succeed that, do that brilliantly, and then try to do something else. That would be my advice.
Oh, good. Thank you, Christine.
Any other questions? Sandy, I don't think we've heard from you. Have you got any questions? Or Pam? Or Chick?
No, I'm learning. Thank you.
No, that's all right. Not a worry. Chick, any questions from you?
Sorry, no questions for me. We just joined. Sorry, we just joined, so we probably missed quite a bit.
Oh, okay. Do you remember at what point you joined at the questions and answers?
I think about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. So probably for you guys, join our next one in a fortnight's time. So it'll be at exactly the same time, which is 7:30 Melbourne time and 6:30 Queensland time.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll do that.
All right. Not a problem. All right. If there are no further questions, Evans, do you have anything in closing to say before we close off?
Sorry, it's Shingi again before,
Shingi.
before you go.
Yeah.
With your upcoming presentations, is it always the same topic?
At this time, it is the same topic. We do other presentations, but at this time, it's just about NDIS provider registration.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you.
And thank you very much, everyone, as well, for attending. And you all receive an email as well after today's presentation.
Thanks everyone for your time, and thanks for your attention, and thanks for your question. We really look forward to those of you that decide to partner with us on this journey. We look forward to working with you. And even if you decide to do this on your own, we're rooting for you because we want more successful providers in this industry. It definitely needs it. So either way, we wish you well, and we hope to hear from you, and have a good night. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a good night too.
Bye.
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 Bye.